Hello, Fix It Tony here. It's been a while since my last episode. I was working on a pretty big project during COVID-19, 2020. So I wanted to take some time off and work on the project. It was such a big project, it wasn't really amenable to videotaping, otherwise it would have taken me twice as long. But today, changing a toilet or putting in a toilet is probably something everyone may need to do once in your life. The reason being either the toilet breaks, it leaks, you're doing a remodel, you're installing new tile, whatever it is. In my situation, I placed this tile over top of an existing tile in a bathroom, and my toilet was also not frequently used here in the lower level. And so what I realized was that I think hard water deposits started to slow the performance of the toilet. So what I needed to do was replace the toilet after I finished the tile work. So that's what I'm going to do today. Overview of the anatomy of a toilet. This is going to be the water supply line that feeds water from the wall up into the toilet tank, fills the toilet tank with water for flushing purposes. What you're seeing here is the design of a trap that helps to keep the sewage gas from the sewer coming back up into the house, because water is always going to stay in this area, creating that trap of keeping gas from leaking out. Down below here, you're going to see the outlet. This outlet is where all the waste from the toilet will come out and go into the floor drain. And what I need to just double check is the distance between here and these lines right here, these holes where the bolts are going to come in to secure the tank to the floor. Just measuring. So basically, it looks as though it's about 10. I'm going to eyeball it. It's going to be hard for the camera to see, but trust me when I say it's going to be about 10 and 3/4, 10 and a half to 10 and 3/4. So when you're fastening a toilet to the flange, this is called a toilet ring or a flange, it's going to have to be a certain distance from the wall. And in my case, I have these slots, and the toilet bolt is going to fit in there. So now I want to make sure it's 10 and a half, at least 10 and a half, so that's good. So 10 and a half, 10 and 3/4 is about there, and you can see that I have about an inch away from the wall. That's good, because if it was the other direction, that would have been a big problem, but no problem now. Good. So no worries. Before you do any reinstalling of your ring, you always want to make sure, if you did use a wax system, that you had peeled off, scraped off, cleaned and washed and scrubbed, degreased this flange. It's got to be completely dry and clean of any foreign debris, because you want this seal that I showed you earlier to be on very cleanly, have a good contact, even contact, without any material in between that would potentially cause a leak. I already did that. This is what clean looks like in a 15-year-old flange. I decided to go with a wax-free. I've done these before, and the wax is definitely messy. Now, my toilet flange is just below the floor. It's anywhere from 1 or 2 millimeters below the floor to about 3/16 of an inch below the floor. So the instruction manual says flange is even width or up to 1/4 inch below the floor. So this is my situation. So I have to install the spacer over the flange by sliding both bolts, or both holes over the bolts. Important, foam side of spacer must face down. Okay, I'll just follow those instructions. So this is the foam side, face down. So that's gonna create that spacer effect. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put this right here like this. And then install the seal on top. And the foam has to, so this blue seal also has a foam. And it's gonna also point out to say toilet seal, this side up, so pretty obvious. So we just, well, I wanna minimize the time between pulling that rag out and putting the toilet down. I have a rag in there, that's normal, you should do that. That keeps the sewer gas from leaking back into the house. I lay my bolts at roughly 6 inches. Okay, so let's see if I can turn this down. The other thing that comes with the toilet bolt set are these little retaining washers. I'll show you what those are. So first thing I'm going to do is put my first bolt in, and then I drop this washer, and that helps keep it aligned. So that's at 6 inches. All right, so we'll call that. Now it's going to be a little bit, these bolts are tilted a little bit, but that's okay because if the toilet drops in, it's going to be fine. And then we're also going to have the toilet flange. Let's go take a look. First things first, drop in this flange, spacer, center it over the hole. Pull out my rag, install my flange, my other ring. Okay. See how I'm rocking? And then you put that first. This little plastic spacer ring will help keep the cap down. Then you put your washer, and then you put your nut. Same thing on this side. The reason you want it even tightening so I am sitting on the toilet, feet off the ground to maximize the downward force. There we go. Now it is feeling tight. Now that I have the toilet stable, the next step is to get a sense of where the valve comes down. So you can see if I use one of these pre-made toilet connectors, you can see how if I were to place a shutoff valve, which I'll show you how I do that, I'm going to need the outlet to be pointing in a certain direction. So you don't want to have too many kinks. You don't want to have a longer hose than you need. And I think it's going to have to be like that. I'll show you what I mean. So what I have here is a brand new shutoff. It's a 1/4 turn. So up is on, off is just a 1/4 turn. Now it's a compression fitting, so I don't need to do any sweating or soldering, but I will have to cut that little piece that comes out. This top piece I won't need because my pre-made hose thingamajigger down there already has it attached. Before I cut, I'm just going to clean the pipe. There was paint, grout, cement, so now it's just a matter of remeasuring. There. Part of the process of turning off the water in the house. And basically, you can see the water is slowly draining now from the second floor all the way down here. This is the lowest part of the house, which is the basement bathroom. So I'm draining as much of that water as possible. All right, let's take a look. So I put a small rag against the wall, another rag, just to kind of soak up as much of the water. Then I have a small aluminum tray dish, and that's gonna go right there. That'll catch some of it. And then I have a bucket that when it starts to jet out, I mean just that. When it begins to shoot out, I'll catch it with this and minimize the mess so I have less to clean up. All right, water's finished draining. I have my pipe cutter. The way to use a pipe cutter, it's got a rolling blade. Place it on the line, basically a 1/4 turn. Every 2 rotations. You saw that, right? There's a burr that gets created because the copper is being squeezed as it's being cut. So if you stuck your finger in there, you'll feel a little edge. I don't want that to impair water flow. It's probably less critical with water supply, but these pipe cutters, they do come with a little deburring. So another detail that I want to share with you is I have this decorative plastic sleeve that's going to slide over top, and what it's going to do is cover the copper pipe and have a more finished look. But I have to cut this back because I have to have this nut fit. And so the way that I did that was I put my nut on, put that on, marked it with a line, measured that from there to there. That's how much copper I need to have exposed. gotta get the silicone off the pipe. Push this in. This protective cover is going to also be glued in, and when that silicone dries, oops, so I put the other cover on. When the silicone dries, getting a razor blade to cut around is the best way to clean that up. Leave it alone is the best approach. Place the collar. This is a compression collar fitting. That just slides over top. And then I place that on top, and then it's all gonna get drawn in. The tightening process involves, I need to stabilize this shutoff valve in the exact direction that I want the outlet to go. And this is still loose, so it has a little bit of, wiggle room. But what I'm gonna do is I have one wrench holding the body of the shutoff valve, and then I have another adjustable wrench that's gonna actually do the tightening. So I am stabilizing and holding resistance to keep the valve from twisting. I'm going to finish tightening. Now the supply line might twist, so I'm going to get a pair of needle nose pliers, hold it right there to keep this from twisting and putting too much twist pressure on the supply line connected to the toilet. Now it's time to turn on the water in the whole house and see how this goes. So what I'm doing is putting blue shop towels around the bottom of the toilet. Now I still had the overspray from the when I cut the pipe, so it splattered all the way up here. So I don't want it to give me a false reading, right? So I didn't clean it up beforehand. So now if there is water leaking from the toilet, it will eventually work its way to the edge, and the paper towels should wick it up, and I should be able to spot a leak. I'm gonna get a dry towel, hold it up here, alright, dry. So I am working on the toilet seat. I have it flipped upside down. The toilet seat came with these silicone anti-slid or slid resistant pads. So I'm just placing these on. There was an upside and a downside. Remember, when you're removing the seat from its packaging or the toilet from its packaging, remember you need to find the hardware for the toilet seat. It's something that should come with the kit. These are plastic or nylon based. They used to make them out of brass, but everything's out of plastic now. Now that I have the rubber feet on, it's just a matter of placing the toilet seat down on the toilet bowl, lining up the holes, dropping the screws down through the hole, and from below you'll be tightening these little plastic nuts. Finger tight should be plenty. Now as it gets a little bit tighter, it's going to want to have a tendency to spin, so holding it with your thumb is going to be tricky. At the same time, I'm going to line it up with the front of my bowl. Another step in the process is, once the toilet tank is secure, you can place these caps on. These decorative caps cover the bolts do is I'm going to apply a clear silicone between the floor and the toilet. I place tape to allow me to give me a nice clean line so it doesn't look so smeary against my floor. And that's just going to keep water, dirt, and grime from getting underneath. My tiles are uneven, and I don't want to have debris, dust, dirt kind of getting underneath. Harder to keep this area clean, so applying silicone around will also help with that. All right, thank you very much for watching today's episode of Fix It Tony, which involved installing a toilet. It is complete. Caulking around the base is finished. Decorative caps, water supply line, toilet seat cover, flushes, and no leaks. So hopefully this was helpful. I think it was a couple of hiccups. The take-home message is make sure your floor is level and your tiles are even. Otherwise, it should go pretty smooth. Have a great day. Please like, share, and subscribe.